Well, it's personal between me and you, and I'm going to do you some serious harm, you big stiff idiot.
The untouchable True School Sports Empire proudly presents something the boxing game's been missing. Hey, what's going on? It's your boy BT, and I came here to talk some boxing with the thousands of True School Sports subscribers. Now, I wanted to talk about the aftermath of Crawford versus Spence. There's so much to unpack. There's so many layers to peel. So, you guys are either gonna get Crawford Spence videos or Fury versus White videos. So just don't get annoyed by it. There's a lot to talk about. But let's just come out and let's just say it right here. Errol Spence Jr. is back. Errol the Truth Spence Jr. is officially back. The DeSoto, Texas native is back. And dare I say it, I never thought I would say it, but he said it before anybody said it. He may just be better than ever. He may just be better than he ever was. Because what we saw against Yordenis Ugas was an absolute masterclass in how to pace yourself as a fighter and how to break someone down. Ugas is one of these fighters that loves to operate out of the mid-range. Very comfortable as a mid-range fighter. Does a lot of his damage as a mid-range fighter. He doesn't fight with the prototypical Cuban style, so to speak. Very hard guy to beat. Even a harder guy to look good against, because even some of the guys that he's lost to, they haven't looked their best against him. You know what I'm saying? Errol Spence Jr., in my opinion, is the first guy that's defeated Ugas that looked like sensational against him. Because like Amir Imam, way back when, he looked solid against him. But this was sensational. This was masterclass. This was creme de la creme type stuff from Errol Spence. And I think now I can't believe these words are gonna come out of my mouth. But I gotta call a spade a spade. I can't be biased. Errol Spence Jr. and Terence Crawford is a lot closer of a fight than I think it's ever been, for a couple of reasons. Like Errol Spence Jr. really seems to be coming back into form. I think God has blessed him. God has truly blessed Errol Spence to where he survived that crash, and now he's got some fights under his belt, and he's at that point in his career where you could say, and I'm gonna say it, his mental abilities have met up with his physical abilities at its highest level. And when that happens for a fighter, what we call that? We call that a fighter's prime. And I don't think he's in the middle of his prime. I think right now he's at the tail end of his prime, but he's at a great level in his career. Terence Crawford, while to me he's still the most consistent performer in boxing on a fight-by-fight basis, hasn't gone the distance since the Victor Postal fight, has a 100% KO ratio as a welterweight. We can't ignore the obvious. Now, he's shown the ability to make some great adjustments against the likes of Kavaluskis, Porter, even Kell Brook to some extent. These guys, in one way or another, gave him some trouble in their fights, whether it be late or whether it be early. But he's shown the ability to make the adjustment and beat these guys up and knock them out. Now, just because he's getting the results, which he has gotten the results, boxing is a results-based business. You can't ignore what you're seeing on the screen. He's still a great fighter, but I would say maybe he's just either at the tail end of his prime or exiting his prime, but he's still a damn good fighter. So I just think right now they're both at an interesting stage of their careers to where, now is the time to make the fight. Let there be no ifs, ands, or buts about it. Let there be no marination. Don't put this fight in the crock pot any longer. It's been marinating for a long time. I think it's reached its point of over marination. You're not gonna have a better scenario than right now, where you got Terence Crawford coming off of a career best stoppage against a guy that had never been stopped, and the same thing with Spence and Ugas. People are very gassed up for both guys off the strength of not just who they are, but what they've done in their last fights. And I don't agree with this saying, but it's a saying that most boxing fans go by, which is you're only as good as your last fight. And these guys both knocked out high-quality welterweights in their last fights. So let's just say, right, if Errol Spence were to fight Keith Thurman next on pay-per-view, and Crawford is going to fight Danny Garcia on pay-per-view, that's really risking this fight. It would really, they'd be cool fight. But right now we've reached a stage with this fight where more so now more than ever, there's no roadblocks. Terence is not a top-ranked fighter anymore. Errol has now cleaned up his proverbial side of the street, so that excuse isn't there. We are now at a point where it's as realistic as it's ever been for these two to come to an agreement. And even putting them in the ring with guys like Keith Thurman and Danny Garcia, you're risking either A, them losing, or B, them not getting a knockout and not looking as good as they did in the last fights as far as the result they got. So, Errol Spence, Al Heyman, and whoever will be negotiating on Terence Crawford's behalf, maybe it's Daniel Kinahan, and we'll get to that in another video. They all have to come to an agreement. They all have to come to an agreement because this is our generation's, and I made a video about this a long time ago. This is our generation's, Leonard versus Hearns. It's that level of a fight. It's that level of it's a 50-50 fight to most boxing fans, especially now because Spence has shown that level of quality again. You go around social media, whether it be Twitter, Facebook, YouTube, and if you ask 10 boxing fans who's to win this fight, you get 5 on Spence's side, 5 on Crawford's side, and that's when that's when you really know that you have a great fight in your hands. So I don't listen. All the sanctioning bodies, fuck off. Do not order any pointless mandatories. Step aside. Be useful for the sport of boxing and for just the sport of boxing and for what you guys are going on in the sanctioning bodies for the foreseeable future. Don't get in the way. Let bosses talk to bosses, negotiate things, sort the numbers out, and let's give the boxing fans, both casual or hardcore, the Super Bowl that we desperately need. Because, man, Terence Crawford is in many people's opinion, the pound number 1 fighter in the world. For me, at bare minimum, he is the most consistent fighter in boxing on a fight-by-fight basis. Hasn't gone the distance since 2016. 100% knockout ratio as a welterweight. Never had a split decision. Never had a majority decision. Never had a draw. Never had a controversial decision. Everything on Crawford's resume is a UD or a stoppage. And there's nobody that can say that. There's almost nobody who can say that in boxing that has 30 fights or more. Special fighter. But then you also got Errol Spence Jr., who has had to overcome a lot of adversity out the ring with his own personal demons and things of that nature. And he's come back to become not just what he was before the car accident, but I think maybe at an even better level. I don't know. Maybe the Ugas fight was just a better style matchup, the perfect style matchup for him. But either way, he went out there and he performed in front of 40,000 people at the Cowboy Stadium. So you got to give him credit for that. But that's just my little take on Spence being back and this fight being something that's got to happen for the fans, for the fighters, and for the legacies of Crawford and Spence. If Crawford wins that fight, he becomes the two division undisputed champion. That'll be a four-time lineal champion, because he was lineal at 35, 40, right? 135, 130, 135, 140, and three times, not 4 times, but he would really separate himself from a lot of fighters in boxing and really put himself up there with the all-time greats with a win over Spence. Spence would also become, becoming undisputed champion in one of the boxing glamour divisions. You can't really discredit that, especially when you're fighting a guy who, like I've said many times before, has stopped 8 or 9 of his last opponents. Crazy knockout streak for a guy like Crawford, in those weight classes. But that's the news. You guys let me know what you think about Errol Spence and his performance against Ugas. Is he back? Are you more, if you're on the Crawford side like me, are you more confident that Crawford can win after that fight, or are you less confident, or is your opinion just stay the same? Let me know in the comments down below. Make sure you guys take the time to subscribe, and like I say in every single one of these videos, you guys can love me or you can hate me, but I'm just a kid from Dania. So until next time, take care, guys. Thank you for watching another video on True School Sports, the home of boxing. If you made it this far, do me a favor and do yourself a damn favor. Hit that subscribe button and surely you will not be disappointed. True School Sports bringing you the latest and greatest, the untouchable, boxing content, interviews, news videos, breakdowns, live fight reaction extravaganza. We've got a great community of people here. Boxing fans all over the world, from America to the UK to Australia, and on and on and on. So join the empire today. Hit that subscribe button. Take care and God.